Hi, we're standing here with Bob Siegel. We're in Oceanside, California, April 15th for the Tea Party, April 15th Tea Party. Bob, tell us about yourself and what are you doing here?
I'm a radio talk show host here in San Diego, KCBQ, and I also sometimes substitute host for the Rick Amato Show, and I'm here at Rick Amato's booth to be a guest on his show today. He's going to interview some of the candidates speaking and me, so just a radio show host and columnist, Christian apologist. That's my resume in 3 sentences right there.
So tell us about your radio show and what is it that you like to cover?
Yeah, our radio show covers religion and politics. We call it the Two Forbidden Dinner Table Conversations. We don't mind controversy. I've had famous atheists on to debate me, and callers call in to debate, but they know that they're not going to get their heads chewed off. They know that it's going to be a friendly conversation, and so it's a lot of fun.
So Bob, we're here at the Tea Party today in Oceanside. Tell us what you think the objectives of the Tea Party are and their goals, and will they achieve them?
You want me to tell you what they really are or what the media keeps saying they are? Those are two different things.
We want the truth.
The truth is, I think basically the Tea Party is an organization of people that wants us to go back to our Constitution and get away from this nonsense that the Constitution's a living, breathing document, which is just code for judges reinterpreting it and making it say whatever they want. They want to go back to things like no taxation without representation, things that were in the spirit of the original Boston Tea Party. They're not a bunch of racists, they're not a bunch of homophobes. This is just a lot of spin from the leftist media. And it's a fast-growing, vital movement. 40% of the Tea Party are made up of Democrats and independents. It's not from the Republicans on down, it's from the bottom up. So the Obama administration and our current Congress doesn't know what to do except marginalize it. And the people that are talking about Tea Parties have probably never been to a Tea Party.
So this week, statistics came out that 48% of the people don't pay federal taxes. Isn't that representation with no taxation?
Well, what it is representation of what Obama campaigned on, transforming our country, mandatory redistribution of wealth. That's what this health care bill, notice how the politicians who passed health care are now freely talking about how it's a redistribution of wealth. When the Republicans or other conservatives tried to say that before it passed, they were accused of trying to demonize the Democrats. They were accused of hate speech. They needed to tone down their rhetoric. Now that that monster got out of the corral, they're free to just admit what it really is. It's a redistribution. If people have to pay for the health care of those who are not going to have to pay, that's a mandatory redistribution. Well, Joe Biden likes to say, where I come from, we call that fairness. And my response is, yeah, Joe? Well, where I come from, we call that stealing.
Bob, this is a nice time, wonderful time for me to ask you a pertinent question, and that is, since you are on the radio, what do you think is going to happen to the FCC possibly coming out with something to control radio?
Well, you know, Obama during his campaign said he was not for the fairness doctrine, but this guy is a master at just calling things by different names. And he appointed Mark Lloyd as the diversity czar in charge of the FCC. They want diversity in talk radio and they want diversity on the internet. Now think about this, because I know you're involved with the internet. What has more diversity than the internet? There's any kind of politics, any kind of religion. You can find things about kitchen patterns, you can find things about Chinese pottery, you can find things about 18th century Swedish kings. There's no entity that's ever lived on the face of this earth that has more diversity than the internet, and Obama comes along and says we need diversity. That's just code for we need to control the speech because we don't want to hear viewpoints that challenge our administration.
So specifically, what do you foresee coming down the pike as far as laws, regulations, and the actual impact on radio?
It's hard to say. It's going to probably depend on whether freedom of speech remains long enough for conservatives to take back the Congress in November. If that happens, and if this time the Republicans really do the things they promise they're going to do and they don't worry about what the New York Times is going to say about them the next morning, then maybe a good deal of that can be curtailed. But it's very up in the air. I have no predictions other than to say that I know the Obama administration will do everything they can to silence free speech. Hopefully that doesn't mean they're going to succeed.
Bob, do you think the Tea Party will ever run a real candidate to oppose the Republican or Democratic candidate?
At this point, I hope they don't. Otherwise, we're going to repeat the Ross Perot phenomenon, which put Bill Clinton into office, even though the minority of Americans actually voted for him. Where the Tea Party could be effective is if they screened the Republican candidates. By the way, I'm not saying that because I'm a Republican. I'm actually a conservative Democrat, but it's been years and years and years since I voted Democrat. So here, I'm actual proof that not everybody here is a Republican. I'm a Democrat, and I can't stand what's going on with the Democratic Party right now.
Well, let me take advantage of that. I didn't know that, but what is a conservative Democrat?
Well, you heard of the phrase the Reagan Democrats. A lot of I would be one of those. A conservative Democrat is somebody who believes in what the Democratic Party is supposed to stand for. They're supposed to be the party of the people. Right now, they're not the party of the people. They're the party that's ignoring the people. Philosophically, I probably have more in common with Republicans, but I like shaking things up, so I've decided not to leave the Democratic Party.
Do you think it's good to put a label on people? Do you think we do that too much, and do you think it paints us into a corner?
There's times when we do that too much, but at the same time, I'm not one of these people who likes the word bipartisan. That's such a political word itself. When Democrats talk bipartisanship today, it means Republicans should do things the way we want them done. And it's just code for that. If somebody really feels passionately about issues, the idea that they always have to cross the aisle and compromise their convictions, well, if we're compromising our convictions, then they're not real convictions. So I'm not a big believer in bipartisanship. On the other hand, labels aren't always helpful because most people don't really know what those labels mean. They only have preconceived ideas about what they mean.
Well, Bob, we're looking forward to hearing you with Rocamato this afternoon, and the music is starting, so I guess that's our call.
All right, it's a pleasure. Thank you.